guys didn't see. However, in the moment that I acted, I was acting to protect the situation, protect my brother from further harm.
Maurice Scott may have scored a legal victory, but the road to that outcome was anything but smooth. The lawsuit involving Maurice, the OWN network, and social media commentator Black Titanic became one of the most talked about controversies among fans of love and marriage. Huntsville. What started as an attempt to challenge a popular online critic quickly turned into a courtroom battle that attracted even more attention than anyone expected. For months, Black Titanic had built a large audience by discussing the drama surrounding the cast of Love and Marriage, Huntsville. Her content focused on analyzing storylines, examining cast behavior, and highlighting information that many viewers believed was being overlooked. She became known for digging into old interviews, public records, and past statements made by cast members. As her platform continued to grow, so did her influence among fans of the show. According to reports and online discussions, Maurice Scott and the OWN network became increasingly concerned about the impact of Black Titanic's content. They allegedly believed that some of her commentary crossed the line from criticism into harmful accusations. There were claims
doing is admirable as a spouse. To roll over and suffer through it, I look at it as her standing by me while I'm standing by her. There's a difference between wants and needs. I'm a person who actually needs sex, not a person who wants sex.
Why do you need sex?
I need sex like Carlos needs mess.
Her videos damaged reputations, spread misleading information, and used copyrighted material from the television series. From Maurice's perspective, the situation may have seemed serious enough to warrant legal action. As a public figure who has faced scrutiny over various issues throughout his time on reality television, he was already dealing with constant attention from viewers and bloggers. Questions about his business dealings, personal life, and marriage had circulated online for years. When Black Titanic began connecting past events and discussing them in detail, the spotlight on Maurice became even brighter. The OWN network also had reasons to be concerned. As the network behind the show, it had an interest in protecting its brand and maintaining control over how its content was being discussed. If a commentator's videos were influencing public opinion and creating negative publicity, network executives may have viewed that as a potential problem. With those concerns in mind, Maurice and the network moved forward with legal action. Many observers believe they expected the lawsuit to discourage Black Titanic from continuing her content. They may have assumed that the pressure of a court case would force her to back down, remove videos, or limit her commentary. However, things did not unfold the way they anticipated. One of the biggest issues reportedly raised during the case was the lack of clear evidence supporting the claims. In defamation lawsuits, it is not enough to simply argue that someone's comments are damaging. The person bringing the lawsuit must show that specific statements were false and that those false statements caused real harm. According to discussions surrounding the case, the judge wanted detailed examples of comments that could be proven untrue. That became a challenge. Much of Black Titanic's content was reportedly based on events that had already been made public, clips from the show, interviews, and statements that cast members had shared themselves. This raised an important question. Was she creating false information, or was she offering her interpretation of publicly available facts? That distinction matters because opinions and commentary generally receive strong legal protection. A blogger, commentator, or content creator is usually allowed to discuss public figures, analyze their actions, and share personal viewpoints, even if those opinions are critical. Another major issue involved the use of television clips. Maurice and the network reportedly argued that Black Titanic was using copyrighted material without permission. On the surface, that may have appeared to be a strong argument. However, copyright law includes protections known as fair use. Fair use allows people to use limited portions of copyrighted content for purposes such as criticism, commentary, education, reporting, and analysis. Because Black Titanic's videos focused on discussing and reviewing the show rather than simply reposting episodes, the fair use argument became an important part of the conversation. As the case progressed, many observers felt that the lawsuit was having the opposite effect of what Maurice and the network intended. Instead of reducing Black Titanic's visibility, the legal dispute brought even more attention to her platform. People who had never heard of her before suddenly became curious about her content. This phenomenon is common in high-profile disputes. Attempts to silence criticism can sometimes generate additional interest, causing more people to seek out the very content that was being challenged. Perhaps the most uncomfortable aspect of the case, according to various reports, was the confusion that allegedly emerged during court proceedings. Some accounts claim that Maurice struggled to clearly explain certain aspects of his complaints. There were suggestions that parts of the legal arguments lacked consistency, which may have created frustration and raised questions about the overall strength of the case. Whether those reports are entirely accurate or not, the public perception was difficult to ignore. Many viewers came away believing that the lawsuit was not as solid as it initially appeared. Social media users quickly began debating the case, sharing opinions, and questioning whether pursuing legal action had been the right decision in the first place. In the end, the controversy became bigger than a simple dispute between a reality television star and an online commentator. It sparked larger conversations about free speech, fair use, the role of social media critics, and the challenges public figures face when responding to online scrutiny. For Maurice Scott, the experience serves as a reminder that legal battles can be unpredictable. For Black Titanic, the case increased her visibility and strengthened support among many followers. And for fans of love and marriage, Huntsville, the courtroom drama became almost as captivating as the show itself. Regardless of where people stand on the issue, one thing is clear. This case captured attention far beyond reality television and demonstrated how quickly a dispute between traditional media and digital creators can become a major public spectacle. As the courtroom proceedings continued, the atmosphere reportedly became increasingly tense. There were moments when the room fell completely silent as everyone listened to the arguments being presented. According to various reports, the judge began asking direct questions about the claims Maurice Scott and the OWN network were making against Black Titanic. One of the judge's main concerns was whether there was enough evidence to prove that Black Titanic's content had actually caused measurable harm. The court reportedly wanted specific examples showing how her videos and commentary had crossed legal boundaries. Instead of providing clear and convincing answers, Maurice's legal team allegedly struggled to explain their position in a way that satisfied the court. As the hearing moved forward, things appeared to become even more difficult for Maurice and the network. Their arguments reportedly lacked consistency, and several claims seemed to weaken under closer examination. What may have started as a confident legal challenge gradually turned into a situation that looked far less certain. Meanwhile, Black Titanic entered the courtroom prepared and determined to defend herself. Rather than being intimidated by the lawsuit, she reportedly arrived with documentation, supporting evidence, and a legal team ready to challenge every allegation being made against her. According to those following the case, Black Titanic's attorneys quickly shifted the momentum. They argued that much of the information discussed in her content came from public sources that anyone could access. They pointed to interviews, television appearances, social media posts, and statements that had already been shared publicly. Her legal team also raised a question that caught the attention of many observers. For years, reality television has benefited from online discussion. Bloggers, YouTubers, podcasters, and social media commentators often help keep television shows relevant long after episodes air. Their conversations generate interest, encourage debate, and bring additional attention to the programs they cover. With that in mind, Black Titanic's lawyers reportedly asked why she was suddenly being singled out. If public commentary had helped keep the show in the spotlight, why was criticism now being treated as a legal issue? The defense also emphasized that reality television personalities willingly share significant portions of their lives with the public. Cast members discuss relationships, business ventures, family conflicts, and personal challenges on camera. Once that information becomes part of a public broadcast, viewers naturally form opinions and discuss what they see. According to the defense, Black Titanic was simply participating in that ongoing conversation. As these arguments were presented, reports suggest that Maurice appeared increasingly uncomfortable. Observers claimed that several of the points raised by the defense highlighted weaknesses in the lawsuit and raised questions about the purpose behind the legal action. The judge reportedly remained focused on the evidence and repeatedly looked for proof, that would support the claims being made by Maurice and the network. However, many of the arguments seemed unable to meet the legal standards required in such a case. What made the situation even more challenging was the perception that the lawsuit was accomplishing the opposite of its intended goal. Rather than discouraging discussion, it was generating even more attention around Black Titanic and her content. At the beginning of the case, Maurice and his legal team may have believed they had a strong position. They likely expected their arguments to carry significant weight, and perhaps assumed that Black Titanic would struggle to defend herself against a major network and its legal resources. Instead, the hearing reportedly became increasingly difficult for them. One of the most talked about moments allegedly occurred when Maurice was asked to explain exactly why he believed Black Titanic's content was unlawful. Was the issue defamation? Was it harassment? Was there evidence of financial harm? The court reportedly sought clear answers to these questions. According to several accounts, those answers never came in a way that fully satisfied the judge. Witnesses and observers claimed that the legal arguments often seemed unclear or incomplete, making it difficult to establish a strong foundation for the lawsuit. Black Titanic's defense team then introduced another powerful argument. They pointed to previous interviews and public statements in which Maurice had openly discussed aspects of his personal life, business matters, and relationship issues. These discussions had already taken place on television, online platforms, and other public forums. The defense questioned how commentary about publicly shared information could suddenly be considered harmful enough to justify legal action. That argument reportedly resonated with many people following the case. If the information was already public, critics argued, discussing it would generally fall within the boundaries of protected commentary and opinion. As the hearing continued, Maurice's legal team reportedly attempted to adjust its strategy. Rather than focusing exclusively on defamation, they allegedly introduced new claims, suggesting that Black Titanic's content had caused financial damage and amounted to unfair targeting. However, those claims faced the same challenge as the earlier arguments: evidence. The court reportedly requested proof of financial losses and specific examples of conduct that could be classified as harassment. According to reports, that evidence was either limited or insufficient to support the claims being made. By that stage, many observers believed the lawsuit was losing momentum. When the judge ultimately issued a ruling, reports indicated that the case was dismissed because the evidence presented failed to meet the necessary legal standards. Black Titanic was reportedly cleared of wrongdoing, and the lawsuit did not achieve the outcome Maurice and the network had hoped for. The aftermath may have been even more significant than the ruling itself. Instead of disappearing from public view, Black Titanic gained even more visibility. Discussions about the case spread across social media platforms, introducing her content to thousands of new viewers. Many people who had never followed her before became interested in learning more about the controversy. At the same time, Maurice faced renewed criticism. Fans and commentators debated whether filing the lawsuit had been the right decision. Some questioned the strategy behind the case, while others argued that it had unintentionally amplified the very voice it was meant to challenge. For many observers, the lawsuit became an example of how legal action can sometimes create greater public attention rather than reducing it. What began as an attempt to address criticism ultimately resulted in more discussion, more scrutiny, and greater public interest. Now the focus has shifted to what happens next. Will Maurice Scott respond publicly to the outcome? Will he address the criticism surrounding the case and explain his perspective, or will he choose to move forward without revisiting the controversy? Only time will tell. What is certain is that this legal battle has become one of the most widely discussed moments connected to love and marriage.